Okay,
You ready, Anna?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. If you could call roll, please.
Perry. How come I didn't hear? Silver.
Here.
Thank you. Klein. Comet.
Here.
Charnis.
Here.
Vincent.
Here.
Duber.
I am here. I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report of fiscal year 2020 through December 2020. So through the end of the year. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Dana, if you would please walk us through.
Good evening. Okay, you have the treasurer's report for December 31st, 2020. It's our year end. Our bank accounts, we ended the year with $8,584,538.28. You have the summary for December. December was $1,438,387.34 for revenue. Our expenditures were $1,373,888.88. Wanted to point out this is our year end. At the end of the year, our general fund was $4,860,724.26. We ended up increasing the general fund reserve by $400,000, and we the employee retirement service, we rounded it up to $100,000 even, and then put the balance in the general unreserved account. So overall for the year, we ended up much better than we thought when we were in COVID world, when COVID started. Primarily that's a result of the COVID funds that we received and the workers' comp monies that we had received that helped overcome some of the loss in admissions taxes and income tax.
You're muted, Dana.
Did I just hit mute by accident?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I didn't want to have to start all over again. So in the detailed report, you can see where we ended up. We did update the budget for the budget ordinance that we had passed prior to the end of the year. So none of the expenditures exceed the budget, which is what you want at the end of the year. That's all I had for the treasurer's report.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments? All right. Anna, if you'd call roll, please.
Perry.
Yes.
Silver.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Comet.
Yes.
Charnis.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. And I'll make a motion to approve the tax administrator's report for December 2020. Is there a second?
Second it.
Lisa, I guess. I don't know. Whoever you saw, Anna. All right. Dana.
Okay, you have the tax administrator report for the year end December 31st, 2020. Last month we had this report as well. However, in balancing the year end, we end up getting, let me start from the beginning. In the past, you only had Rita collecting funds and their final reports were in the middle of the month. So it was easy to do the report a month earlier than the treasurer's report. And that's why we always had November last month treasurer's report with the December tax administration report. Now that the state is collecting net profit returns, we're getting distributions going to the end of the month. So there was a minor revenue collection from the state in December. So I had met with the mayor. We discussed having the tax administration report mirror the same month that we have the treasurer's report. So I cleaned up the December report and balanced everything out. So I'm reintroducing it. It was minor in terms of the gross collections. There was a little bit of changes in the expenses as well. That's why I only gave you the treasurer's report. It really didn't change significantly any of the other colored graphs, so I didn't send those out again. So moving forward, we will have the same month's report for tax administrators as we do treasurers, so that we can make sure that we're picking up all of the revenue we actually collect in that month.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any comments, questions, concerns? Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm having all kinds of fun tonight. I have my hand raised there. I also wanted to say that if you notice the net collections or the collections are slightly different than the variances on the Treasury's report, that's a result of the retainer refunds that are included on the Treasury's report that are not included in the tax administrator report as gross taxes. It's just where they're reported. They're slightly different.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Dana? Okay, if you'd call roll, please.
Carrie,
Yes.
Silver,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Comet,
Yes.
Charnis,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. Moving on to discussion of bills to be paid in the month of February in the amount of $104,818.41 and additional January expenses in the amount of $135,373.15. Does anybody have any questions on the bills?
I have one for Chief Castora. It seems it's not a very big number, but on the inmate housing for Bedford Police, is $75 for one person or something, or is that the
One
rate?
night,
It's
one
one
night.
night. It's one night. Bed and
one
breakfast.
person, one night.
Okay.
That's inexpensive compared to some of the other jails.
I'm not challenging. It just
They don't
seems.
get the organic food there.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
Any other questions on the bills? All right. Moving on to, I'll make a motion to authorize the village engineer to prepare plans and the clerk to advertise for bids for the recreational trail extension to Orangewood Drive. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Who was that? Brent, I think. I'm just going to start with my comments on this. I appreciate everybody's, from the administration, your input last week. I think the meeting went very well. We made sure everybody had an opportunity to speak. I also want to thank all the residents who joined the meeting. It was very insightful, everything that everybody brought forth on that. I grew up in Orangewood, so maybe I'm a little bit biased here. But I think it is something that's been needed for, years. Orangewood, when I first, grew up, was half the size it is now and only had one entrance exit. And, now it's basically a through road, having entrances both on Lander and Harvard. I definitely, there's obviously tons of kids. I think there is some, a significant safety issue. And just seeing what we've done around the rest of the village in terms of the recreational trails, like I mentioned last week, even people who were somewhat, not in favor or even opposed to it, I think there's been a change of heart in a lot of people in it. And I think that just the benefit to the entire community, is outstanding for what the village has done so far. So I obviously, understand the position of the homeowners who are being affected by this. And, as we mentioned last week, the village, if this does pass, and again, this is just to get bids, not to actually do the project, but I think that they're somewhat, relatable. I think the village, based on everything that we've done, previously with the the larger portion around the village, I think the village did a fantastic job of, making sure that the homeowners were involved. And I'm 100% confident that the village will continue to do that. And, I applaud the mayor and the engineer and Bob Zugan as well for that. I could tell you that I'm very much in favor of this. I think, especially having some money coming from Pinecrest, I think this is really a benefit to not just the Orange Village or the Orangewood residents, but really to the entire, village of Orange. So that's my position on this, and that's why I'm going to be voting yes to move forward with the plans. And so long as it comes in within, an amount that we're expecting, that I'm going to be voting in favor of moving forward the project. Does anybody else have any comments on this?
I do. I have a statement I'd like to read. Is that okay?
Sure.
I also want to take a moment to thank everyone who took the time to email and write and call and participate in the discussion last week. I want you to know that I listened very carefully and read each and everything everyone had to say. And I spent a great deal of time going through Orangewood to also better assess what the exact ramifications could be for each resident, not only in Orangewood as a whole, but for those who live specifically along the south and east sides of Orangewood Drive. I'll get back to that in a moment, but I want to offer some of my perspective. I didn't grow up in Orangewood, but I did spend a lot of time there with a lot of friends who lived in Orangewood. It was naturally the community I looked at first when we came back here from DC, but with our first child on the way, we knew we wanted a development with sidewalks. I had grown up on a Pepper Pike Street without them. I experienced too many close calls while walking on the street to my friends' homes. And sadly, I even witnessed a horrible accident when a driver going too fast on what was supposed to be a little side street hit a young teen riding a bicycle. He's lucky he only ended up with a broken leg and some bruised ribs. We knew we wanted Orange Village, so we were lucky to find our dream home with sidewalks in Orange Hill now 21 years ago. My kids are grown, but we still love walking their dogs and taking a stroll or teaching their young children how to ride a bike safely on those sidewalks. Yes, those very same sidewalks that cut right in front of our house. I was in Orangewood a year ago on the 4th of July with my young teenage son. We watched fireworks with friends on one of the cul-de-sacs and then walked along Orangewood Drive toward Lander Road to meet up with my husband. I have never seen my son quite so scared about walking at night. At least 3 times within a 15-minute period, we found ourselves diving onto people's lawns to avoid being hit by cars that weren't even honestly going that fast. And I was dressed in bright, sparkly attire too. Walking the lawns was actually next to impossible, especially in the dark, because we tripped over stones, had to maneuver around bushes and trees, avoid multiple divots that couldn't be seen after dark. And walking on people's lawns definitely gave us the feeling of trespassing, even though we were close to the curb on the right of way. So as soon as I heard this issue was going to be up for discussion, I made it a point to spend some additional time in Orangewood, both on foot and in my car. Within a mere 20-minute time frame around dusk, I counted 16 cars moving in both directions on Orangewood Drive, many moving at faster speeds than they should have been, along with 3 Amazon trucks, 2 vans, and a handful of people out walking their dogs or jogging on that very same street. To say Orangewood wasn't a main thoroughfare would just be inaccurate based on what I saw that night. All that said, I wanted to make a decision not only on my own experiences, but to reconcile those experiences with what I heard from residents who chose to live in Orangewood. First and foremost, the overriding theme I heard over and over again was that Orangewood was a community. Whether in support of the trails or not, people who chose to live there chose that community as the place they felt safe and felt at home. By its very definition, a community is an interacting population of various individuals in a common location sharing the same environment. It is imperative that anyone existing within such a community considers the beliefs and needs that affect the identity of the whole group and the people in that comprise the whole. Within that community, safety is absolutely paramount. It is the overriding concern I heard over and over again by Orangewood residents, and the safety and well-being of all of the residents is my #1 priority. Some neighbors mentioned they hadn't experienced a single accident in the decades they had lived there. I am thrilled about that, but I don't want to wait around to see that statistic change and then wish we had done something to prevent that when the opportunity presented itself as it has now. Please understand that I'm not discounting the concerns of some of the homeowners along Orangewood, some of the concerns they've expressed about wanting their privacy, desiring to keep their landscaping or sprinkler systems or driveways intact, or not wanting or fearing change on my side of the street. Just because those opinions may differ from my own priorities doesn't mean I don't understand their concerns. I learned in sociology class many years ago that to many, a person's property is like their child. They want to nurture it, they want to protect it, and they want to see it grow in their own light. Because I understand that if the trail extension is approved, I will work very hard to ensure that each homeowner is treated with the same continued respect that our village has always shown, and that their properties are maintained with the same beauty and care already displayed. But the bottom line for me is that as a community, as a whole, we need to continue to grow in a positive direction for the good of the whole. I'm not a lawyer, but I believe our village attorney addressed the liability issue. I'm not an expert in realty, but from what I have heard and read, sidewalks and trails only increase the value of a home and make the neighborhood even more appealing. Numerous studies have shown that trails lead to improved health, improved mental well-being, improved connectivity, and with economic benefits, including increased property values. We have already heard from so many about the positive benefits of our own trails in the village. This is one of the missing links that would tie the broader community together. When I campaigned, I promised to be your voice and represent your vision. The overwhelming refrain I've heard from the majority of Orangewood residents again and again is safety first. And not only in Orangewood, but throughout the village. In good faith, I know that I must vote in favor of extending the trails into Orangewood to maintain that sense of community, all the while working to ensure the safety of each and every one of our Orange Village residents. Again, I thank you for your input. Thank you.
Might I
Thank
add,
you. Any other comments?
might I add something to it? As both a resident of Orangewood and a resident whose property will be affected by the trail directly going across my property. I think over the last year, we have come to recognize there's a higher level of traffic, particularly as it relates to COVID, with DoorDash and Amazon deliveries happening on an increasing frequency. So those people who are used to navigating our streets, the local residents, are being outnumbered by those who are not familiar with them. And as a result, the safety issue becomes even more significant than it ever has been in the past. And having these trails here hopefully will be, the COVID issue may pass, but the traffic will probably not. And so we need to be sensitive to that. I know that the village will work hard with homeowners who have the trail in their front yard to work it around appurtenances and landscaping that ought not to be disturbed if possible. And when it is, it's a small price to pay for something that could be beneficial to all concerned. And I very much appreciate the fact that we had this conversation last Wednesday with including all of the residents that were able to attend the meeting online and voice their opinion. I came with an open mind, was listening to all who had something to say, and I was overwhelmingly surprised by the positive thoughts that people brought to the discussion. I think it's important that community connectivity be emphasized as well as safety, and that the trail extension through Orangewood will contribute to the furtherance of that idea on behalf of all of the community and not just the houses that sit on it. I do want to point out another, at least to those who would think that, well, it's great, but put it on the other side of the street. We have to recognize that the other side of the street is a longer dimension than the sides that we are going on. So we have more trail to be concerned about. And along with that come a lot more driveways to cross. And I think there's a safety issue to be concerned further with crossing the driveway rather than crossing the street. And to that point, people backing out of their driveway are less likely to look for a pedestrian going by than someone who is crossing the street, riding a bike or just walking across the street. They'll stop and look both ways. At least that's what I taught my kids to do when they were little. Again, I appreciate Council and the mayor and staff for putting on a very good program. And I am very much in support of this and want to see it go forward. I think it's important for the future of Orange. We can't continue to live our lives looking in the rear view mirrors. We want to look out the windshield. It's a much bigger view. So let's go forward with that. Thank you. And I'll take my comments off the air.
Any other comments from anyone?
I'll be
Um,
briefer. I'll be briefer than
yep.
some of those. I thought it was nice to see the community engagement last week. It's always nice to know that we can have these conversations. It was very civil. I like to hear both sides, and I think both sides presented themselves well. There were issues brought up that maybe people who didn't live in Orangewood, if they were listening, at least on council, that maybe weren't aware as much about the safety issues, that were in favor of the sidewalks, as well as the people who were not in favor. So it was nice to hear that engagement. I will be, as long as the bids come in a reasonable amount. I think we have a once kind of in a lifetime chance here to take advantage of some monies that we had from Pinecrest and add some of our own. And I will be in favor as long as the bids do come in reasonable. And I have full faith in Bob Zugan and the mayor and the administration, and working with the engineer and the contractors, that anyone who is affected will be heard, and we'll do our best, as we did through the rest of the village, to make sure that the project satisfies as many people as possible.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? All right. If not, Anna, would you call roll, please?
Perry,
Yes.
Silver,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Comet,
yes,
Charnes,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. All right. Moving on, I'll make a motion to authorize the purchase of a concrete restroom structure from CXT Incorporated for a total price not to exceed $80,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Who would like to speak on this? Mayor Dugan?
I'm going to let Bob Zugan do the speaking and presenting of this long awaited for eagerly sought project.
Okay, well, thanks for giving me a quick second here. I'll try and keep it short. This was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission, where it was backed and approved unanimously. As you know, we've been looking at this for a couple years, and COVID sort of put us behind schedule. But we last year in 2020 were able to get the foundation stuff, which will allow us for the install. So just a reminder that all the electric is back to the park, as well as the force main and the sanitary pump station. Due diligence was done. We reached out to the authorities, which I believe to be the park districts, which was Cuyahoga, Lake, and Geauga Metro Parks. The mayor and myself also did a tour where we went to Penitentiary Glen and visited a bunch of sites in Lake County with the director of that park system. It's a very durable structure. It's a precast concrete building. We have quite a few upgrades to it, some based on what's happened with COVID, where we have hands-free faucets and flushometers, electric hand dryers. It's also equipped with a timed electric lock system that it will automatically unlock and lock during the hours of operation. So it's got anti-graffiti coating and stuff like that. So it's a very durable structure. The pictures that you see, they did not have exactly what we had. They have a drawing there, but it's a lap-sided with stone on the bottom, and it has looks like a cedar shake style roof. But also some of the other upgrades were, we went to stainless steel fixtures and stuff like that. And it also has an anti-graffiti coating, which will assist because, there always a risk. Everybody's seen them in park bathrooms and stuff like that. I think our residents and users of the park have been very good. But that being said, we still want to take all the precautions we can to make something durable, long lasting and stuff like that. So if there's any other questions I can answer?
I have a couple questions, Bob.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the invoice sheet here. The anti-graffiti coating looks like it's not included on the price list that was provided.
There's actually two anti-graffitis. There's a standard anti-graffiti coating.
Okay.
This one, Defense, is like a super superior one.
Oh.
And when I talked to CXT, they basically said that started in Detroit where they have these facilities, and was explained to that daily they are hit with graffiti.
I don't think
So
it's
it was
so much-
recommended by them that we didn't need, I thought it was about $3,000, that we did not the $3,000 upgrade for that.
I would agree. I don't think we have much to worry about in the Orange Village Park. You mentioned the automatic lock. Well, is there a way to ensure that no one is in it when it locks, or can they get out if it locks?
They would be able to get out. If they're
Okay.
in there, you know, it's the entrance that you're worried about.
Okay. Last question. I'm looking at the price list. The very last item, it's a $3,000 charge. Just curious what that is. It doesn't really say.
If you look to the left, it says Ohio drawings.
Yeah, what
We're
is that?
required through the building department to have registered stamped drawings.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed your park bathroom tour of Northeast Ohio.
It was fun.
That's all I got. Thank you.
I have a quick question. Is it planned to be heated?
No, it's not. Most of these are not. We have a little bit of money there, as you notice, not to exceed 80,000. I was looking at some electric. Anything that we do put in there would have to be electric because obviously we have no gas service back there. But typically we don't have a lot of users in the wintertime. The other thing that becomes problematic is the water line that goes back into the park services a number of things, the sprinkler system, water fountains and stuff that really need to be secured in the wintertime. So.
Okay. So then the bathrooms will only be like 3 seasons of a year opened.
That's correct.
Okay.
I have a quick question. It might just be a personal preference because of the materials we work with. It looks like there's a choice on the roof of metal versus cedar shake. Did you consider the metal? It's obviously more maintenance-free, a metal, and could last longer. Just didn't know what your thought on is.
Alan, it's just actually just aesthetic value. The roof is all concrete. It's concrete and it's precast, and it just has that visual effect.
Okay. Thank you.
I have 2 quick questions. First of all, Bob, thank you for all your work in this. I'm very, very excited that we're going to have bathrooms long awaited. So thank you for all your work. One of the questions, actually, both of them were raised at Planning and Zoning, and I just wanted to check again to have some kind of sanitation outside, like a soap dispenser or something, to hand sanitizer before entering, so that people coming off the playground or off the park aren't touching those handles that everybody else is then touching. If we could do something right outside there, they're inexpensive, but it'd be nice to have one there.
Stacy, I don't know if it's you or me that's having internet problems. I'm going to try and
The
figure out
answer
what
is
you
yes,
were
he can do it.
saying. Is something about, I believe you were talking about hand sanitizers and stuff on the outside or by the
Yes.
doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know he can do it. We've talked about it. Oh, is he back?
Back.
I think he's back.
Wasn't that one of the?
Can you hear me now?
We can,
Yeah.
yes.
Approval?
Well, this is a new one for me to lose internet service, so I apologize here.
No worries, no worries. We heard you, just in delay. So, and then my other question was, I know there was discussion about which way the main doors are facing. Was it decided that they're going to face the playground or they're facing the playground? Sure.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I've actually had a discussion with the police chief. Myself and the mayor have also talked about. The good thing is, I guess, in ordering this, we don't have to make that decision right now because it's just a matter of the way it gets set. I get, in my opinion, I have no feet in the fire. I'd be more than happy to make it where our users feel comfortable and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of merit having it face north, the doors towards the playground.
Thank you. And thank you again for your work on this.
Any other comments or questions? Anyone? All right. If not, Anna, if you could call roll, please.
Oh, wait a minute, Judd. Is he here? He dropped off. He just came back in. Okay. Perry,
Yes.
Silver,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Comet,
Yes.
Charnis,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. Moving on to, I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of Amanda Curlin to the Records Commission for a term expiring December 31st, 2022.
I'll second it.
Is there a second? Anyone?
I did.
Stacy already did. Sorry, Mrs. Vincent.
All right. Mayor, do you want to discuss? You're muted.
Both of us.
Yes, once a year, we need to hold a records commission that which will give our departments authority and permission to throw away old records as the Historical Society, after they approve our submission. And it's one of those little housekeeping tasks that some people say they like this meeting. It's just very perfunctory. But Amanda comes in for finance, and Brent used to have this job, but once he became a councilman, he was no longer eligible to serve on the Records Commission, and Amanda's been coming to meetings, and she was willing to take on this additional responsibility. It's not an awesome responsibility, but it's a necessary one, and so we hope you will confirm her appointment and her take the oath of office.
Amanda, thanks for volunteering for this. We appreciate it. Any comments or anything? Okay. Then Anna, please call roll.
Perry,
Yes.
Silver,
Yes.
Klein, Comet,
Yes.
Charnis,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. Mayor, do you want to swear her in now?
If that's okay with you,
Sure.
this is the most I'm going to see of her for a while, unless she comes with the corned beef sandwiches. All right, raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Amanda Kurland,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Ohio,
Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the rules, regulations,
the rules, regulations,
and Charter of Orange Village,
and Charter of Orange Village,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
honestly, and impartially
honestly, and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a Records Commission member of so
as
Records
Records Commission member
of Orange Village, State of Ohio,
of Orange Village, State of Ohio,
during my continuance in said office.
during my continuance in said office.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Anna will let you know when the next meeting is.
Okay, thanks for giving me the opportunity to continue to serve Orange Village in whatever way I'm able to.
Appreciate it. Thank you. There is no old business or new business. We could do the audience comments relating to agenda items. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak? If no, here's your chance. All right. If not, we'll move on. Let's audience comments again for any other matters that advance the good of the village. Anyone? All right. Mayor, comments?
Tonight was really a very exciting night. We took big steps towards doing things that are going to really affect the quality of life of the residents of Orange Village. So bravo to all of us and you. And if anyone knows of anyone who's interested in serving as the Orange Village representative, the Orange Community Recreation Commission, please forward those names to me. We need to replace the fellow who's been serving for the last 2 years. And so I'm looking for volunteers who would like to do that task. And that's all I have tonight.
All right. I don't think I really have Any other comments? So start with you, Mrs. Berry.
Thank you. I just have a quick thank you to all the residents who participated in sharing their opinions, both in writing and in the meeting last week. So thank you for giving us your opinions and speaking up. That was very nice. And that ends my comments.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Silver.
Yeah, thank you. I noticed that the trails were plowed today. Is that something we're going to be doing now? Is that a new plow, something we're going to be doing?
No, we are experimenting, playing. Bob is using different equipment. He's checking it out. We are not making the commitment to it until we've finished our research. And we want to make sure we have the right equipment and we want to make sure we have the manpower before we start something so that we can sustain doing it over the long term. But Bob has been moving ahead, trying to make that happen.
Well, I thought they looked good. The only concern I noticed was that, and I don't know if this is because of the way the trails wind, but it looks like some grass did get ripped up in a number of places. So if we do continue with the plowing, that's something to consider.
I asked him today, I said, how can you see where the trail is without the zigzagging?
Yeah, I mean, that's something to, think about having to make repairs to grass that gets damaged at the end of the winter. But I thought they looked great. Also, our neighbors in Woodmere tonight, I know that I was on their council call right before this because they were supposed to be voting on whether to approve the sidewalk issue along Brainerd Road. When I had to drop that call right before this one, they were still in discussion. So I don't know if it passed or not. I anxiously await to hear what happened with that.
I'll probably.
Sure, it was a fully functional meeting like ours are.
No
Okay, that's
comment.
If I get a text from the mayor tonight, I'll let you know.
Okay, that's all I got.
Thanks. Mr. Comet,
No comments.
Mr. Charnas,
No comments tonight.
Mr. Klein.
I'm going to bring something up that we've talked about in the past, and I think it's important that we move forward on. Back in July, we passed a resolution regarding racial justice and social equity in our village. Prior to that, in June, I brought up at council the idea of creating a connective group between made up of the communities of the 12th Ohio District, and had reached out to Juanita Brent and Marcia Fudge to work with us in developing something. In talking to some of my colleagues on council and the mayor, we felt it might be a little bit too aggressive and ambitious to reach out to do something like that. So we have begun to talk about something at a much more appropriate scale. I bring to your attention this evening that Stacy and I have been working with the mayor to put together a program for the benefit of our community and potentially for some of the adjacent communities that I would like to involve our council in making the decision in producing. What I would like to share with you all is an article that we've written called the Orange Village Racial Justice and Social Equity Forum or Program that I would like to invite the community to create a committee to move this agenda forward and to potentially have an event in March that would be a very basic program to help us better understand some of the issues of this very complex and challenging problem. So I would ask the council president, if he might, to authorize the committee from the council to move this forward and enable us to hold this event for the benefit of all concerned.
Steve, obviously I'm more than happy to, always move forward on, any projects anybody's, interested in. I think this is something that's important and something that, all of council as a whole should be involved in. Steve, in order to properly form a committee, obviously I can go ahead and do that, right? But is there is it a maximum number of council persons? Obviously it can't
No, you have the authority to
first.
form and organize a committee as you see fit, appointing the members of it and assigning it such duties as you would like to do so.
Are there regulations? It's been a while since we formed a new one. So is there supposed to be a certain amount of
they will need
residents?
they will need to comply with the Open Meetings Act, the village ordinance that controls the notice of the meeting, and the obviously it has to be open to the public, and minutes will have to be taken.
Okay. So yeah, I'm happy to form, a committee and designate you, Judd, if you want to be the committee chairperson.
I'd like to chair it with Stacy because she's been very supportive in this. And
I think everybody on council is probably supportive of this, Judd. But yes, I don't have an objection to you and Stacy co-chairing this.
That's fine. That's fine.
I think it would be appropriate to make sure that all of council is involved in, an issue that's important like this. I think it's, having this as a committee where it's open meetings and minutes are taken and council is, aware of what's going on, just, because of obviously the importance of this issue is, and something where our residents are able to, hear how the village is, going forward and the actions they're taking. I think that's all important. So I think going forward in committee setting is probably the most appropriate. Are there any, does everybody agree with that? Disagree with that?
I don't know how committees are formed, and if you form a committee, if you have to have certain goals in mind of that committee. Steve, I don't know what committees require community members. I think if this was a committee we are forming, I think having community members like we do on the budget committee, would be something that this committee, not knowing exactly again what this committee is going to come up with, should be something that includes a community member from it. I don't think it's something that council should be necessarily deciding when it comes to diversity and inclusion, especially when you use the word inclusion. It should include, I think a community member as well.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, again, the composition of the committee can be determined by the council president as he thinks is appropriate. I would recommend that you give him your suggestions as to what you think the composition should look like, and maybe if people have thoughts on that, they should get them to the council president and he can discuss them with folks as necessary, or just adopt them. So.
I just want to, just because this is something that we've been looking into since, like Judd said, back in, July, August, we've been talking about opening the dialogue, furthering the discussion. And I think a committee is definitely the way to go forward with direction. But at the onset, we were looking to just put up a program that we could get us all talking, that would open the dialogue, at least from council, administration, staff, and some of our neighboring communities who've also expressed specific interest in hearing from somebody that could kind of tailor where we need to move forward with this. We have a person that I've spoken of before that is willing to do such a webinar, if you will, or a seminar for us. I know that some of the other neighboring communities are very interested in it as well. The person I'm talking to about is Mr. Leon Andrews, who's with NLC's, he's the director of NLC's RAIL program. I had the good fortune to hear him speak last summer, and I know his programs go a really long way in opening dialogue to better understand racial equity issues before we discuss as a community how we want to lay this out and how we want to solve whatever problems there are, or continue to communicate with each other, just to establish kind of a bottom line of what we need to be talking about. It's an opportunity for people to listen in and learn about what implicit bias is, what racial equity issues are, more generic than we would necessarily need from an entire committee to come up with this. We would like to further this program. We know he is available in March. He's difficult to get a hold of and difficult to lock in.
Hold on, Stacy.
This sounds,
let me just,
this sounds like, was there a committee already? This sounds like something's already been pushed on
yeah,
the
so
road.
that's what I want to kind of, hold on everybody for 1 second. So here's an issue that's coming up, is that I don't think most people on council know what you're talking about right now, because, you know, there's been, my understanding, you know, kind of committee type of action, you know, that I don't think anybody else on council is aware of. And, you know, I know that there is many people on council who, you know, I think would be able to provide input and be a part of this, and, you know, be helpful to the end goal here. And this is, you know, why I think a committee setting would be most appropriate here, and the starting foundation of it. I'll get to you 1 second, Mayor.
We would
So,
love input,
hold on,
but
Stacy.
I need
Stacy.
I need to clarify.
I want to
Stacy.
know.
Clarify something.
Stacy,
Stacy,
you keep saying
Stacy.
we. I don't know what.
Stacy, please. So again, this is, you know, we're talking about important subjects here, and most of council here is looking with kind of eyebrows up, because they don't even know what we're talking about. So let me first go to the mayor, and then I know Lisa, I saw her hand up, and actually, no, Lisa, your hand was up first. So why don't we start with Lisa?
Thank you. Thank you, Brandon. We have a person who lives right in Orange Village who's kind of an expert in this area. She's my neighbor. She's, I have no idea if she'd be willing to help us in this, but we could ask her. And that is a local free resource that is probably a better place to start than hiring somebody to give us a webinar, in my opinion. And I'd like to look at, if you're going to create a committee, inviting her and seeing, you know, what the input is, instead of just jumping in straight away to some kind of paid expert, because I think we have them right here.
Mayor?
Yeah, I'd like to take a little responsibility for why we find ourselves where we are. When this came up last summer, I did start taking the initiative on this, and I did talk to a lot of people, and I even had a proposal, and I talked about department heads, and I was going to do something that would be of substance in response. This is, you know, the reaction to the George Floyd murder, and so this is not something that just arose. And I tried my best to put something together, and what I had in mind, I couldn't get to. I just, without going into details, I just kept hitting brick walls and difficulties. And maybe in October, I said to Judd and Stacy, because really they were talking about this, they were sort of pushing me, and I had said to them, stop, I'm doing something, don't do anything. And then when I hit the brick wall, quite frankly, I sort of lost interest in this initiative as well. And I told Stacy and Judd, I'm done. I can't figure out how to do this. I don't want to, not during COVID, let's wait. But they took the bull by the horns at I handed it to them. And what they came up with was sort of it's just the terminology. It's just a seminar to hear the terminology. Then we can do whatever we want for our community. I just feel like we got to this point, they've taken it, well, I'm not gonna say anymore, but I'm just taking some responsibility for how it got this far, and this, how this got away from everybody, because it really never occurred to me, you know, it's my spending authority. I just thought we could get something together, and they did the legwork.
I welcome, Judd and I welcome any input from council. Of course, the program is not finalized. It's not, I mean, it's just, we just came up with the idea, and we wanted to make sure before we presented anything, we knew what the framework was for this. And we welcome input as to what will be a part of this program. I only know what I heard him say last summer, and it was a wonderful program to really get things started. Like I said, to open the dialogue. It's not a formal program that we're going to put in place. And I think Brandon used the word the end goal. We don't have the end goal yet. We don't know what it is. We just need a framework to start. And this is what this would offer.
Well, and that's why I think framework to start is a committee, to be quite honest with, starting with council and our residents and, figuring out, through that, in the proper fashion of something, what the end goal is. That's just my opinion. And
I welcome that input.
I agree with Brandon.
Well,
You know, again, if you're gonna start.
and I appreciate that.
I
I'm
think
sorry,
a
go
committee is
ahead.
where you start. I've done a lot of reading on these topics. I'm reading a number of books. I know there's a lot of local resources. A lot of schools are doing this already. I just think,
And that's
all
what
of a
we've been
sudden we're
looking
reaching
at.
out. And I understand, Stacy, you heard someone. I've heard some great people speak. I've heard great people speak locally. So again, until we have a committee that says, hey, this is what we as a committee and what we want to do. Again, it sounds like, again, I think obviously it's a global or a national problem, and we're saying, oh, we got to solve the problem. I don't know if we have a problem yet. Yes, dialogue is huge and great in this, and terminology and everyone being on the same page, but it doesn't mean you need to go ahead and start a program when we haven't even had a committee to discuss it. Sounds like you and Judd have discussed it, but you're going to go ahead and put Orange Village's name on something. It seems, the
But
rest
I'm
of
taking
council.
responsibility because I sort of pushed it along too.
Wait, I have to say, we may have had our track spikes on and run down the track further than we should have, faster than we should have. The effort and intention was to provide something that we could bring to the council, to engage the council to move this forward. I must point out that in July, and Alan, you weren't on council in July, when we passed the resolution, I added an amendment to that resolution, and you may all recall this, that in furtherance of the section, the mayor and council will convene a community forum at a time and place to be determined in order to elicit community input and direction for actions this legislative body ought to consider in advancing the aspirations set forth in the resolution. At that time, I forgoed that section. We left it off because everybody felt it would be too difficult and for us to undertake at that moment. But I didn't leave it at the door and say, forget about it. We still need to act. We still need to do something. We had this lovely and wonderful prose that we talked about in our community, and we've now moved it forward. Albeit we may have moved forward faster and more aggressively than we should. And we're going to take a step back and bring everybody back into the discussion so we can move forward with the knowledge and involvement of all of the voices that ought to be within our council and then the community. Our objective is to start with council and then determine where and how the community is involved in it so that it doesn't digress into something that it shouldn't be. And that we identify that we don't want to say we have problems. No, we don't. But on the other hand, the failure to consider that something might occur leaves the opportunity open for it to occur. So this is moving that agenda forward in a positive way. And we put together a draft statement that we would like our colleagues on council to review. And then let's work together. Whoever wants to be involved in it, let's all be involved. Let's be involved in it. We can talk about to what extent community members should participate in this particular committee. But let's start from that point that we have this committee working to describe and define the parameters of what we're trying to accomplish, at least. And it's going to have a number of steps to it. It's not going to be all in one. It's going to be, we're going to take small steps.
I appreciate that, Judd, completely. And just like you said, I will say that anything we do, I think, has to have a community, have to open it to the community member. I think you do a committee that talks about diversity and inclusion, and you don't include someone from the community. I think,
That's fine. That's fine.
Judd's word choice of opportunity, I think, is key. I mean, that's what this is. It's an opportunity to better and be more inclusive and engage and grow as a community in this issue. I'm concerned that you say program and you think we're talking about a months long, thing. That comes later. That absolutely is crucial. And in any discussion, and this has been brought up since July, I think I've brought it up almost every council meeting we've had in discussion, that I said, if anyone's interested in working on this work, it's so important. Please let me know. Judd said the same thing. And we've always welcomed anybody that had any input. We just wanted to move the ball forward. And
yeah, but nobody's reached out to me to say, you know what, like there's a lot of open-end statements by people, a lot on council. I have not heard of this until late yesterday. And I think that this is something, as mentioned by several members, that this is something where it needs to be a committee with our community members.
Okay.
And, the issue has never been brought up to me that, let's go, Brandon, will you start a committee? And that's how that happens. And I'm absolutely, happy to do it. And I think that we should. But that's the only concern that I have here.
Okay.
So
I have raised the issue of having a committee months and months ago. I'm sure it's in minutes, but
find a spot where you told me, Stacey,
it's about
that you
moving.
wanted to start.
It's about moving forward. We want to be inclusive.
Let's go.
We want to get everyone on the same page as far as where this discussion needs to go, where it needs to start, where it needs to move forward.
I agree, but council here doesn't even know what you're talking about because they've never seen this document before. So how is everybody on the same page if they literally don't know what, document we're talking about?
If they don't have the page, it's hard to be on the same one with it. So we'll start there, Brandon.
So I appreciate that.
And
so here's what I think that we should do if, and Judd, give me your opinion here. Obviously I just want to talk to Steve, after the meeting and then, tomorrow or something, and, kind of, and discuss with you, about the formation of the committee, and, framework and stuff like that. And then we can, I don't know if formally establishing a committee over Zoom right now is, just off the cusp like that is the way to do it. But I think that, I'd like to have a dialogue with Steve, and then, have a talk with you and, have something that, we think is great and is really going to benefit Orange and, our residents and, the community as a whole, if that's something that
if you feel
everybody
that's
is.
the first step you need to take to move it forward, then let's do it. And
It's about the work. We want to, the work is what's so important, and dialogue forward for the community, for the betterment of Orange Village. We'll go with whatever process you want to go with, but we'd like to get the ball rolling sooner rather than later.
That's what we're doing right now. I mean,
okay. All right, well, we have a ball. Let's roll it.
Steve,
Thank
we'll
you.
talk tomorrow, and then
Very good.
Jed, I can get in touch with you tomorrow and we'll get something.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments regarding this issue? Anyone? Brent, are you in favor of committee for this?
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present this. And I look forward to working with my colleagues here to advance this agenda to something that's valuable to our community and to ourselves.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have any comments? No? All right. Judd, do you have any, aside from this, any other comments?
No, I think I've stirred the pot enough for one
There's
night.
no stirring. There's no stirring pot. Look, there's no pot stirring. It's a, this is an important issue. And I think you have a lot of people on council who have their own experiences that can, help, guide this and help frame it and help make this, even better. So that's, I think, that's where I think he and some other members of council are coming from.
We'll forward to Anna for distribution the draft document that Stacy and I and the mayor have crafted on this issue, and they'll have a piece of paper to look at, and then we'll talk about where to go from there. Okay.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
All right, Stacy, comments?
Yeah, so I'll just transition just to say, as we continue Black History Month, I am very eager and hopeful that we will be able to take this next step and engage in this collaborative effort with staff, with administration, with community members, and with our neighboring communities. I look forward to working together on this important work. So we'll leave it at that. As far as the schools report, just an update. They did have a board meeting on Monday. The superintendent announced numbers for to an all-in beginning March 1st. At that moment, there were approximately 80% returning in person at the elementary school, 77% at the middle school, and 65% at the high school. They were still awaiting a couple hundred responses, but the numbers were pretty close to what they anticipated. The superintendent also concerns about lunch areas and bus transportation, and if you want specifics on that, it is the meeting is online for you to check out. Vaccinations will begin for staff members on February 19th and for the first dosage, and March 12th for the second dosage. And learning, for anyone listening, if you have kids, learning will be asynchronous, both of those to allow those vaccinations. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, everybody. And I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank
I was having so
you.
much fun.
What's that?
I was having so much fun. Let's stay.
I'm having fun. All right, Anna, if you'd call roll, please.
Harry,
Yes.
Silver,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Comet,
Yes.
Charnas,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Duber.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. See you at the bar.